Hi, I just finished reading Shaheen Bhatt's I've Never Been Unhappier. It's a book, it's an essay actually, a sort of a memoir about Shaheen Bhatt's experience of living with depression since the age of 12. I think she's 29 or 30 now, so she has lived with depression for most of her adult life. So, Shaheen Bhatt is Mahesh Bhatt's and Soni Razdan's daughter. She is Alia Bhatt's sister. So, it's quite easy to basically categorize this as some kind of celebrity writing that where somebody has gone through something and they have a platform and now they want to save the world, which is not a bad aspiration to save the world, as long as I think it comes from some place of empathy and kindness, and this book does. So basically, the book begins with a series of entries from Shaheen's diary. It begins with an entry from when she's 11 or 12 years old, where she's talking about the onset of the feeling. At that time she doesn't know what it's called, so she calls it the feeling, and she talks about how it feels like a very full emptiness in her heart, in her chest, and it doesn't go away. And then with the other diary entries, you see snippets of how she's getting familiar with the feeling and exasperated by it, because with the diary entries you see that she's not able to leave her room, she's not able to get out of the bed, she's not able to shower. She just feels that everything is futile. In fact, there's a very nice part in the book where she describes that when you're living with depression, it's like you are doing everything, and everything that you do or you see comes with a neon sign that says futile, and then it goes on to what exactly, and I think that's the main agenda of the book, if I have to call it an agenda, that I think she wanted to convey that depression feels very real as in a person, to somebody who's suffering from it for a long time. Because if you think about it, the girl had depression since she was 11 or 12, and she's 29, 30 now. That's practically an upbringing, and that's what comes across. In fact, there was one point in the book where where she's talking about how her mother just didn't know what to do with her. She clearly knew that her daughter was in trouble, but she didn't know how to help or what kind of help to give her. And then she's talking about her sister, how her sister really was on her side, and she would generally leave Shaheen alone. Until that point, I did not see too much mention of the father, except for one or two pages where she's basically talked about how she had a tough equation with her father. Her father himself was an alcoholic, and in fact, when Shaheen was born, he came to the hospital. Then he saw the mother and the baby, and he left, apparently to call up other people and inform them of the good news. But he went and came back sloshed the next morning, and the mother just brush that aside, that okay, this is what he does. And then Mahesh Bhatt apparently took Shaheen, the baby, in his arms, and she was such a little, she's a newborn, and she turned her face the other way because she could not stand the stench of alcohol. And she writes that Mahesh Bhatt quit drinking the next day. So it's not an easy relationship between father and daughter, but essentially, depression being the third parent, so to speak, that there are values that depression inculcated in her, that you're not worthy or nothing is good, or that you are too worthy. There is a message to life and universe that only you get it because you're very sensitive and very intelligent, and that she is, sensitive, and she quotes a lot of research. There's a reference index towards the end of the book if you want to do more studying on depression and various techniques to cope with it. You could go there. So that's her book, and while the account of depression itself is, I didn't find anything new in that because I've read a lot of books on it. But what really struck me as wise, and wise and sensitive, was that this girl actually understands what it's like to not be depressed, or not like what it's like to not be depressed, but what it's like to not understand what depression is, but still continue to be there for someone who is going through it. So you don't call them shallow, you don't see them as superficial, you don't see them as people who just lucked out. You recognize that they have been given their own sets of struggles, and and maybe this aspect of theirs, to not be bogged down by life the way a depressed person is, maybe that is that's a strength that is necessary. I mean, not even a strength, it's a trait, just as like extrovertedness is not a strength and introvertedness is not a weakness, it's a trait. So similarly, if you are joyful, you it's not because you're dumb, or you're simple-headed or simple-minded, or you don't understand the gravitas of life. So that was very refreshing, and I think it comes from someone who's lived with that condition for a long time, but at some point shifted that lens from what I'm feeling to what others are feeling around me, and that acceptance, or that journey of acceptance in a very short read, is so movingly painted. That is not something I had expected to find in the book, or actually any of the other books that I've read on depression, where it gets a little too much of me, and it could be because it could be. Or rather, I mean, it's understandable, because people who do go through depression like the way she did, you start feeling very invisible, and there's this one particular incident that she talks about where her stepsister Pooja Bhatt, who's also an actress, had taken Alia Bhatt and her for some photo shoot, and Alia Bhatt was really little. She must have been like 4 or 5, and this girl was 10 or something like that, and Shaheen was dusky, Alia Bhatt was fair, Pooja Bhatt was very pretty, she was an actress. So at the photo session, Pooja Bhatt wanted the photographer to click all 3 of them for a family keepsake, and the photographer just told Shaheen that move out of the picture. And that's the theme that she had been carrying all throughout, that there is a picture perfect setting for everything, and she doesn't fit. So I suppose to, when you get the voice, where you stop feeling so invisible, the natural tendency probably is to write about, this is my story and this is what I'm feeling, and all that, but it tends to get a little self-centered, which is what I found that this book is not. It's not very self-centered. It may begin that way, where you're like, okay, what else is new, but it ends on a very beautiful note. It just ends with this one girl living a very simple life, with a very heavy heart at times, who in very slim moments of clarity just decided to give joy a chance. So yeah, it's a good book.